Hi, I'm Cherry Crockett, and I'm presenting here today as a member of this St. Charles unit of the League of Women Voters of Metro St. Louis, which is a big mouthful there. We've been registering and educating voters in the St. Louis area for over 100 years, and the League is nonpartisan and does not support any candidate or political party, but we do support issues. This presentation includes references to several websites. Don't worry if you don't see them, get them down when we go through, because we have a handout at the end to give you. And we also ask that you please hold your questions until the end. Okay, so the first part of the presentation is about voting in local elections and why you should. I'm going to start out talking about who you're voting for in these elections. And I'm going to get very simplistic here. So if you know all of this, just bear with me for a few minutes and we'll be on to something that maybe you don't know. Municipal elected officials. If you live within the city limits of one of the cities in our county, these officials will be on your ballot. Can everyone see clearly? Okay. If you live in unincorporated areas of the county like I do, you won't see these positions on your ballot. These positions affect your life on a daily basis. They run the city parks, they make decisions about your roads and clean drinking water, and determine how to resolve concerns like a water main break in your neighborhood, for instance. These municipal elections and school board elections are held in April of each year. County elected officials. You can vote for county elected officials whether you live in the city or the county. Since we're presenting to groups throughout St. Charles County, we focused on county and school board officials in this presentation, since they're common to all residents of the county, even though your school board may be different. They all work the same. Elections for county officials are held in November of presidential and midterm election years, with primaries for these offices held in August. So the county executive. The county executive, along with the county council, operate the county much like the city and mayor and alder people run the city. As you probably know, our county has been in the news a lot lately regarding controversies at our county council meetings and library board meetings. Because of this, we think it's important for you to know who makes decisions about those boards. As you can see on the slide, the county executive makes appointments to these boards. Of course, you, the voters, decide who serves on the county as the county executive. The council members vote on funds for county services, as well as zoning issues, traffic calming concerns, measures that affect commercial development and subdivision lot size, even the potential location of a cell tower. And they have to have a say in approving those board appointments mentioned in the previous slide. They get to approve those or disapprove them. The county government website is very informative. I have it down there, but it's also on the handout. St. Charles County has recently redone their whole government website, and I've found it to be very much more navigable and user-friendly. So you might want to check it out. All right, school boards. Some people say, my children attend private school, or they're homeschooled, or they're grown up. Why should I care about what's going on in the public schools? Well, if for no other reason, this is why. Someday they'll be in charge, and it's really important that you know who's on the school board, so you can, and what they think, so you can help build children that you want to be in charge of you someday. So school boards do a number of things. They hire the district superintendent, which is very important. They also manage money, decide on pay for teachers, how much staffing schools have. teacher training, and curriculum. Also, some of our school boards have been in the news recently as well over some controversial decisions they've made. And because they play such a big role in our future leaders' education, it is important to know where the school board candidates stand on the issues you care about. All right, so this marks the end of that primer on the local elections. Despite how important these local elections are, only 17% of registered voters voted in last year's April election in St. Charles County. That's not 17% of voting age citizens in the county. That's 17% of registered voters in the county. We find this a really sobering statistic, and it's really the main reason we decided to put together this presentation and start giving it to groups around the county. Of those 17% who did vote in last April's local election, over 72% were over the age of 50 or 50 and over. And while that vote's very important, we don't want to discount any vote. We're concerned that parents of likely school-age students are not making their voices heard in the important decisions that affect their children's education. One school parent put it this way: not voting for children's school board members is like letting a complete stranger make the decision about what car you're going to buy. Not many of us would agree to do that. Since these numbers are small, can everybody read those? Okay, I just want to make sure. So that 30 to 49 range is 23.7%, and that 18 to 29 age range is only 4%. So a lot of people who've responded to voting surveys say they don't vote in general, much less in local elections, because they don't think their vote matters. As this slide shows, 2 recent local elections were decided by as few as 99 and 64 votes. And St. Charles City election last year was decided by as few as 40 votes. So it really does matter, especially in these elections when so few people turn out. Another reason that people cite for not voting in these elections is that they don't even know there's going to be one until the last minute. I know that's happened to me when I first moved here. It's true, these local elections just aren't well publicized. Our county election authority recently updated its website, and it provides a wealth of good information about voting in the county in a very accessible format. We encourage you to check it out. The website reference is included in the handout. Their website should provide you with everything you need to know when to vote, where to vote, how to vote, and what you need to take with you in order to vote in any election. Yet another reason that people cite for not voting in these elections, and these are all legitimate concerns. I don't want to downplay any of these because it is true, that there's a lack of reliable information about the candidates. The League has 2 options to meet this need. In its role of voter education, the National League and local leagues across the country provide voter information through the vote411.org website, as well as through the printed voter's guide that's published by the Post-Dispatch 2 weeks before every election. And those are distributed throughout the county and throughout the metro area, actually, and usually in the local libraries. Another thing that we provide here in St. Charles is we have a website, a local website for the St. Charles unit, where we list the candidates and their websites or Facebook pages, depending on how they're interacting with the public. So we put all the candidates on there all in one place. We make no comments about them. We just give you a place to go, see who's on the ballot, and see what they say about themselves. what happens is we found a lot of people don't respond to our questions that go in the voter's guide. So you end up without good information. You may know what 1 in 5 candidates thinks. So this way we just provide you with the information that they themselves provided, but you can go to one stop and find them all. Okay, so there's our slide about, it's in the wrong place, about Vote 411. That's just what it looks like when you get there to kind of show you what it can do. It's personalized to your address, so automatically the things that are pertinent to you come up. And it is a really good tool. It's really a better tool for the general election in November than it is for the local election. All right, so now you know which elected officials you're voting for. You have access to information about where, when, and how to vote. And you have access to reliable information about candidates and what's on your ballot. So now it's time to consider if you're eligible to vote. If you'll note, the registration deadline is March 6th for this April 2nd election that's coming up. And even if you've registered to vote in the past, if you've not voted lately, or if you did not register in St. Charles County, your name may not be on the voting rolls here. So you don't want to find that out when you show up at the polling place to vote. It just delays things and it's a hassle. So you can check your voter registration status online. There's many places that you can check it, but I reference the St. Charles Election Authority because it has other information you need to know there. All right. When it's time to vote, you have some voting options in addition to voting at your polling place on Election Day. In 2022, the Missouri General Assembly passed an election law that added, among some other provisions that weren't so voter-friendly, a no excuse in-person voting period. You can now vote in any election beginning 2 weeks before the election day. You do this at the election authority or at Element Church in Wentzville, but at a more limited time. At the Wentzville location. This is what other states call early voting, but our lawmakers don't like to use that term, so, but it's truly early voting. We wanted to make you aware that the election this year falls 2 days after spring break. So if you happen to be a parent of school-age children or your children are parents of school-age children, you might want to vote early so that you're not scrambling when you get back from vacation or whatever. Oh, I did want to say on that last slide, earlier voting with an excuse and mail-in voting are still available in really limited circumstances. So if you are in one of those situations, you can contact the election authority and find out what you need to do. So the second part, Don's going to talk about other ways you can be involved in democracy. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Let's see there's mine. And the clicker. Okay. So we used to be able to keep up to date on local happenings with local newspapers, but with media consolidation, it's become much more difficult to know what's going on locally. Often, it's not until it becomes front page news do we realize that there are ongoing problems with local government. For instance, there's a local group that's been pressuring the St. Charles County Council to do away with election equipment and hand count ballots. A few people have been speaking at some county council meetings, and they've been pressuring some county council members behind the scenes with some success. This has been going on for over a year now, but there's no way to know about it unless you attend the county council meetings. Until it blows up, it doesn't make the press or anything. There are ways to stay informed, but we have to be proactive. Interest groups like the Sierra Club and Moms Demand Action provide timely updates about legislation important to them. Like the League of Women Voters, these groups produce legislative action alerts with actions that you can take to influence your legislator. Local community organizations, government boards, and councils produce newsletters that can keep you up to date. Most local groups and council meetings are open to the public. For all their faults, Facebook and other social media can be a good place to stay informed. None of us has the time to attend every local meeting, but we can stay informed for those who are able to attend and spread the word. That's particularly important with school board meetings. You have to take an active role if you want to affect change. Paid lobbyists and special interests work with legislators to craft new bills, and they don't always have your best interests in mind. If there's an issue that you care about, let your local government official know. More than at any other level of government, speaking out and showing up locally can make a difference. Many local meetings are live streamed, and these are typically recorded and able to be viewed at a later date. Now we'll move on to the state government level. This is a great tool to keep up if you don't have time and you want alerts to come in your inbox, your email inbox on any variety of subjects. FastDemocracy.com, it's a free service. It allows you to search topics that are of interest to you at the state level and set up alerts when legislation on those issues comes up and moves to the General Assembly. It's arguably the best way to stay informed on a wide variety of issues. I don't know if you can read the list of topics on the screen. There's 40 of them, but the topics range from abortion to welfare, crime, education, restroom bills. You can also type your own keywords and see what comes up. Here's a sample screen of what you see on when you get on the Fast Democracy website. Once you select the topics of interest to you, Fast Democracy will send you updates on legislation pertaining to those topics. Every time there's a new development on a topic that you are tracking, you'll get an email. From there, you can see the latest actions, get a copy of the entire bill, see who is sponsoring it, and take action. The example shown is House Bill 1708. This is a bill introduced by Adam Schnelting from District 69 in St. Charles County in the Harvester area. The description says, changes the law regarding firearm concealed carry permits. Currently, Missouri law bans weapons from churches unless a minister grants their consent. HB 1708 would reverse that to automatically permit concealed weapons in churches unless signs are posted to the contrary at every entrance. The bill also lowers the age requirement from 19 to 18 years or older for concealed carry permits. Now we'll move on to the State of Missouri website. All three branches of government have websites, but the House of Representatives is the most useful to me for the ability to submit testimony online for committee hearings. This testimony becomes part of the official record. Many people are unaware that our state legislature only meets from January to May. For 2024, the session began on January 3rd and will end on May 17th. Veto session is on September 11th this year. This is when the legislature meets and votes to override any bills that the governor has vetoed. The governor can also call a special session if there's something important to consider that can't wait till next January. I click the legislation button at the top, and there you come up with a screen where you can search for legislation by topic, sponsor, or bill number. This is the bill that Fast Democracy, that I showed on Fast Democracy. This is HB 1708. There are three main sections. It's a lot of information here and a lot of things you can learn. The first section at the top shows you the basics of the bill, including the sponsor, the proposed effective date, and the last action. Now I'm going to move to the bottom section. That's the activity description. The section at the bottom shows you every step that the bill has taken. Each step is recorded in the official House Journal. We see that the bill was pre-filed on December 1st, 2023. It was referred to the General Laws Committee on the third day of session, so it appears that this bill is a pretty high priority for House leadership. The public committee hearing was 4 days later, and it was voted out of committee on January 14th. Currently, the bill is still in the House, waiting on a full House vote. And on the right side of that screen is this section where you can read the full text of each bill, as well as a summary and committee witness testimony, fiscal notes, and amendments. Now we're going to move on to the witness testimony. So this bill, HB 1708, was a controversial one. It generated 335 comments for the committee hearing. Most of these comments were submitted online, but this example is one that was made in person by Arnie Dienoff in support of HB 1708. So now we'll move on to committee hearings. This is a partial list of committee hearings scheduled for next week. Besides contacting your legislator directly, committee hearings are the only other way to officially comment on pending legislation. I counted 70 committees listed on the website, including joint committees and special committees. Many of these do not meet on a regular basis, and not all committees conduct public hearings. Typically, committee hearings seem to be scheduled a week or two in advance. I believe they have to be scheduled a minimum of 24 hours in advance to provide sufficient notice to all interested parties. It's not unusual for House leadership to schedule hearings at the last minute in order to gain political advantage. On Tuesday, February 27th at 8 a.m., the House Ways and Means Committee is scheduled to discuss 3 bills, one on private pension taxation, one on bingo cards, and one on tax credits. Only the first 2 will have public hearings. The third bill will only be considered in executive session. So the only way to comment is contact committee members individually. You can submit comments on the first 2 bills by clicking the Submit Witness button up that's circled. This is the form that shows up when you click that button. It's easy to use. It's best to read the bill summary and make your talking points clear and concise. Any personal experience you have on the subject can go a long ways to influencing committee members. So if you see a bill that concerns you, these are basically the steps you can do. Watch for the bill to come up for hearing. If it's a House bill, you can submit testimony online. If it's in the Senate, you have to take the trip to Jefferson City. You can call or email your representative at any time. You can also email members of the committee that are hearing the bill at any time. And tell your friends and consider posting on social media. Many legislators have already staked out a position on a bill you're interested in. With 163 members in the House and 34 in the Senate, there are often opportunities for compromises which can impact the bill. The last topic I want to talk about are the initiative petitions. We already talked about the petition that's going around for reproductive rights. There are 26 states that allow for citizen-initiated ballot measures, and Missouri is one of them. The different colors are the different categories of ballot measures, but basically the ones that are in color allow citizens to directly impact legislation rather than go through the representatives. Voters in Missouri passed recreational marijuana this way in 2022 and also legalized medical marijuana and expanded Medicaid via ballot measure in the years before that. The Secretary of State's website shows a list of 173 initiative petitions filed in 2024. Some of these have been rejected or withdrawn, but most of them are approved to circulate. Very few of these, though, will actually make it out for signature gathering. One of the reasons the abortion petition has been delayed for so long was they they filed, I think, 8 different versions of the petition. And once it went through all of the hurdles thrown in front of it by Secretary of State and various other, I think the treasurer and almost every elected official seemed to get involved to slow it down. But once they did that, they also conducted a survey to determine which of those 8 were most favorable to people to sign. And so they withdrew the other 7, and the one petition, tonight's petition, or today's petition, was the one left standing, and that's the one we've got. I think it's 173,000 signatures needed by May 5th, I remember May 5th is a deadline on that one.
That's what's needed, but their goal is 300,000.
Oh, yes. The goal is to go way up because we know the petitions are going to be scrutinized very closely, and we want to try to make sure that, it gets across the finish line. The legislature continues to try to make it harder for Missouri citizens to make their own laws, preferring to keep this power to themselves. Current law provides that any constitutional amendment proposed by initiative petition shall take effect when approved by a simple majority. The resolution that was just approved in the Senate, which is known as SJR 74, would require what's called a concurrent majority, meaning that in addition to passing the entire state, any constitutional ballot issue would also need to be approved by a majority vote in 5 of the state's 8 congressional districts. And that means, according to an analysis by the Missouri Independent, if you have a majority in 4 districts with the lowest number of voters in 2020 and 2022, 23% of those voters could defeat a statewide ballot measure. So that's the game that they're playing, and I think it's a good chance that that bill gets signed into law. They tried last year to do similar laws, and they all failed for various reasons. We got lucky, but now I'm afraid this bill is going to make it across the finish line. So thank you all. Thanks for allowing us to make this presentation. Hope you enjoyed it.
So